Good evening and welcome, councillors. Welcome to December's full council meeting. I would like tonight's meeting to be conveyed in the spirit of the festive season, goodwill to all mankind. Apologies for absence.
Sorry, Chair, the microphone's not working. Can everyone hear me? Right, there you go. I've got apologies from councillors Harrison, Howson, Little, Tiplady, Young, Hargreaves, Reeve and Morley. Are there any more apologies from the floor? There you go. That's it, Chair.
Moving on to agenda item 2, declaration of interest. Have any members got any interest to declare at this meeting? There is no business required by statute to be done before any other business. Item 4, to approve the minutes of the meeting of council held on the 3rd of November and the extraordinary council meeting held on the 23rd of November as a correct record. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you, Chair. It's just regarding the question I asked at last full council. I just wondered if the Chief Solicitor had an update on the parking situation.
Haley?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the update was, sorry, I did open this ready. I concluded my investigation and we found that it was found that when the changes were made in relation to council-owned car parks, that the signage for on-street car parking was also changed, which was done in error. So the signage, Tony Hansen's team have now started work to change those signs. It's probably actually been done. I hadn't checked that, sorry, before I came to this meeting, but I know that that work was underway to make sure that the signage was all changed.
Councillor Clayton.
Thank you. I would appreciate an update if you can check if the signage has been updated. I am encouraged that nobody was issued a fine for the error. But what I am concerned about is that there will have been disabled motorists in the town that have paid for parking when they didn't need to, that perhaps have limited means. Now, whether there's anything we can do to resolve that, possibly not, but I think it needs to be acknowledged and I think they deserve an apology. And in addition, I know it was raised at the last council meeting about the situation in the car parks where obviously previously blue badges weren't chargeable, so the parking meters are nowhere near the bays. I have had several residents contact me that have explained that they use wheelchairs, so they find the current parking meters we've got inaccessible. So I would like to ask neighbourhoods to look at it again and see if there's something we can do, whether that be installing extra meters or reviewing the policy entirely. I also know that the community-led inclusion partnership are currently...
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to interject. This section of I totally get it. I think that's probably something for the next section of the agenda. If you've got a further question on the minutes of the last meeting of council, this part is just to really approve the minutes.
Right. So can we refer it to neighbourhoods to look at it again then?
You can raise that on the next when we get to that bit. I think we just need to approve the minutes for this part of the meeting.
Are there any questions on the agenda item 5?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not being awkward.
That's all right. So obviously, following the last council meeting, I did have several residents contact me and explain that they've got blue badges. A couple of them were in wheelchairs, a couple of them didn't walk very well. They've explained that it is very difficult for them to use the town centre car parks now that they need to get a ticket from the machine. So I would like neighbourhoods to look at it again, whether they can put some extra machines in that are close to the disabled bays, or whether there's something else that can be done. Or given the fact that at the moment the town centre car parks are free for everyone for 3 hours, perhaps it would just be a good idea to scrap it entirely.
Councillor Cassidy?
If it's the wish of this council to bring it to neighbourhoods, I'm happy to oblige.
Councillor Brash? Still? Yeah, right.
Is there any dissent in that? Okay.
Moving on to item 6 is the report of the Director of Public Health, Craig Blundred.
Okay, good evening, everyone. As you'll see in the papers, this is to get approval for publication of the public health report. Many of you, I hope, have had a look at that. Public health report is a statutory function that we're required to publish every year. Each year to date, it's involved a variety of different subjects, ranging from weight management and obesity to physical activity and how health at work improves health. This year, I've decided to, as we're coming out of the COVID pandemic, and there are an awful lot of difficult situations we're facing in terms of health, and the system is changing quite significantly at the moment. My annual report this year has been to sort of take a holistic look at health of Hartlepool and Hartlepool residents at the moment, to set a baseline for the work we're planning to do. Working through the health and wellbeing board and looking at the health and wellbeing strategy to really sort of start to address some of those key issues that face the residents as we go forward over the next few years. So what I've done with this year's report is to include quite a lot of the data around some of the health issues we face. But we've also gone out and spoken to residents to find out what they think they would like to see, and what elements of health improvement they'd like for us to address. The report again this year, as has been for the last couple of years, involves not just the data, but also we've gone out and videoed some residents, and I'm going to play one of the videos for you just to give you an indication of some of the comments they've been making. And one thing we found is that this is getting some quite good feedback in terms of being very accessible for the general public, and I think one of the things I'm trying to do through these DPH reports is make it a lot more accessible and a lot more visible for everybody in the town, rather than being kind of a dry, number-based document. So I'd appreciate any views you may have. But what I'm going to do now is, and I'm going to have my fingers crossed, because I've tried this week already in one of our members' seminars, and it didn't work particularly well. So I'm hoping that this is going to work today, and we'll just get a flavour of what's in the report.
I'm Meg, and this is Rohan, who's 9 months old. I'm Ellie, and this is Junior, and he's 4 months old. Having the best start in Rohan's life to me was finding somewhere I could come to meet other people, to make friends for the kids, and have somewhere safe and comfortable to breastfeed in public, where it wasn't a taboo or you weren't getting looked at.
And also to get out and talk to other moms, to have some adult conversation.
Like, within me, my first child, it was important for me to have other mums to talk to and have other kids for him that were around his age.
Yeah.
So.
And then also on a Wednesday, when we get them weighed.
Yeah, Gareth weighs on Wednesday, so it helps me keep track of Gareth, like, while he's weaning, so I know whether he's putting on or if I need to up his feeds anymore.
And there's always someone to talk to as well if we need.
Yeah, the house is really helpful.
Yeah.
And the staff are brilliant. There's a stay and play, so you get an extra bonus play session in each week.
Yeah.
So that's just a brief view, and I think as you look through the report, you'll find various different sections which relate to the key sections we're aiming to work on over the coming few years. And obviously, I've used that as an illustration of one of the more important areas we're looking at, which is about the best start in life and giving our children the best opportunities they have to start to develop and live a healthier lifestyle. So we've got all those sections, they're linking online, and really just for you to sort of ask any questions you may have of the report and then approve it for publication. I'm happy to take any questions on my hand.
Councillor Creevy.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for this. It was really interesting reading. And it was great for the member seminar as well the other day, albeit the tech didn't work. There was a few things that I've got questions on, particularly around the deaths due to alcohol and substance misuse. That seems to be particularly high for Hartlepool, along with the, what's the other one? The mortality rate from heart disease as well. They seem particularly high in relation to the rest of the country and the North East as well. I noticed that the falls emergencies was a lot lower. Is there any particular reason for that? But can you tell me what's going to happen about the other bits as well?
Yeah. In terms of the related deaths and substances, yes, we do recognise that it's a big problem we have with the town. We recently reviewed our related death process so that we have a much more robust process for investigating what has happened in terms of any clients that maybe substance misuse service who does unfortunately pass away related to substance misuse. And what we found is that we're able to identify some areas where we can make better links to support people through that. The alcohol is a concern, and I think one of the things we have identified within Hartlepool is that we have quite a high number of people who are using alcohol at dangerous levels but aren't accessing services. So that's a priority for us going forward in terms of how we're adapting that. We've recently received some health inequality funding, which we're looking at how we can use that to improve uptake of our services for alcohol-related conditions. But it is a priority of mine to focus substance misuse work on that, because it is a big gap at the moment. We're not seeing those people coming through. And I think it's a particular challenge because we are starting to see some alcohol-related deaths as well come through the system, which is a concern. So we very much have that on our plans going forward in the next year. Sorry, what was the additional question?
The one about falls. So falls you seem to be doing particularly well on falls.
Yeah.
What we do.
We have a full service that we fund that the council provide. But I think we are sort of lucky that the falls programme, I think we hope it contributes to that. We're not aware of any other factors that might lead us to have lower numbers of falls, but certainly something that we're looking into and get a better understanding of.
I think one of the other things that you put at the back of your report, you put about, for example, we can act together to ensure, and then a list of things. How does that feed into things like the council plan or, that kind of stuff, really? Because it strikes me that it doesn't necessarily link together. Does that go through the Health and Wellbeing Board, or does that go through adults, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of things. We obviously have the Health and Wellbeing strategy, which we work through. We are keen to have a bigger reach from the public health team throughout the local authorities as well and through our partners. So we are looking at developing programmes of work that address that, but also working together. We're very keen to work together with the BCS and external agencies, and are doing that as a thread that runs through all of the work and our work plan that we're proposing at the moment. So we're doing that across the board with all our work programmes. We are sort of having discussions, and certainly it's my desire, because obviously this is as we come out of COVID, it's an opportunity to look at how we work, and as part of the public health review, I'm looking at how our team works, as I say, with partners and with other elements of the council, and so that's the priority for us in terms of the ways of working which we're looking to change.
Councillor Cook. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Mayor. Okay, thank you. Two things, Craig. First of all, comprehensive report, and the start for the first dozen pages or half a dozen pages are in colour. After that, we go to black and white. And we have the same old problem that we have every year, and that is graphs where you can't tell which is which because it's not in colour. Can we ensure in future that if a report is coming to full council that we do get it in colour so that we can follow it respectively? And
Chair, can I interject? It is available electronically as well, Councillor Cook, but I'll take on board your points.
Okay, thank you. The other thing, Craig, is our hearing aids, and in this chamber is a loop system. When that went on, I had to take my hearing aid out. It was so... it's just not conducive to people with hearing aid problems or whatever. So just as a point on the actual video that you did. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Inbridge.
Thanks, Chair, Mr Mayor. Craig, I think it's a great video that you've put up there. I think it's about impact. And when you see the visual effects, it's much easier to understand the situations that them young mums are in. I have raised this in the past with the previous Director of Health. It does concern me about the levels of obesity in young children in the town. And I think we need, you may say that we've got some details here, but I think it's important that we look at this seriously. I'm not saying you don't look at it seriously now, right? But the levels of young people that's obesity before they get to primary level, the damage is done by they get to mainstream, right? And I've said it before, but please don't repeat this as such. I said there was too many little fatties running about. I was quite blunt with it, and I apologise. I don't want to offend anybody, but I was really sincere when I'd said that a couple of years ago. And I think we also need to be looking at helping parents to sort of get them to cook healthy. Some young people don't even have pots and pans and things, you know, and I think we need to be targeting mums and dads, not telling them to tell their children how to eat, but to give them the right guidelines. And I really think that's important, and I think we need to look at that in depth. Thanks, Chair.
Yes, I completely agree with you. I think obesity is one of my key priorities that we need to address, because we do have, as you correctly stated, a problem in partly caused with the numbers of children who are overweight or obese. And we know from the National Child Measurement Programme that we carry out every year that number's on the increase. So I think it is a priority, but also I think that links back to the other question here from the councillor, is that there's an awful lot we can do across different parts of the council. It's not just about people eating too much, it's all about advertising of fast food, it's all about fast food takeaways, it's all sorts of different elements. And again, that's why I'm keen to work, have my team work across all of the council and with our partners outside and BCS to look at that. And we are planning some significant areas of work to tackle that and to look at food in general across the board, because it's obviously a driver of a lot of poor health. Keeping a very relevant cost of living crisis, there's certain risks associated with that in terms of availability, but also people's ability to purchase good and good quality food. So it is a key priority of mine for the next year.
I'd agree with that. Education is paramount in this. Thanks.
Councillor Creevy, did you want to come back in? Councillor Clayton.
Thanks, Mayor. Firstly, Craig, just thanks for a really comprehensive report. It's very detailed, and I think it gives us an excellent sort of picture of where we are at the moment. There are several sort of aspects within the report that really concern me. For example, the fact that a male resident in Manor House can expect to live for 7 years less than a male resident in rural West. I think that just highlights the inequality that we've got across the borough. What I'd like to see, sort of following on from this, is a comprehensive plan on how we're going to sort of improve on this. Like, obviously, there are a lot of areas of concern within it, and I'd just like to see what we're going to do about it, because I think that's really important.
You're right, inequalities and tackling the inequalities on getting everything in terms of doing, in terms of working with the public health sector. That's in the process of putting together a public health strategy for the work that we do, but we're also looking at revising the health and wellbeing strategy as well, and updating the joint strategic needs assessment to inform that as we progress. So as and when those are completed, we'll bring them to the appropriate committees.
Thank you. Item 6 is the report of the monitoring officer presented by Hayley Martin.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Following notification that Councillor Little and Councillor Brown have now joined the Conservative and Independent Union Group, there's been a change to the political balance of the council. This has had an impact on a number of committees across the council, and members are asked to approve the calculations and allocate seats in relation to the following committees which have been affected. In relation to Finance and Policy Committee, Hartlepool People Group have relinquished their seat and has given it to Councillor Little. On Adults Committee, Councillor Little will remain on the committee, taking a coalition seat. The Neighbourhoods Committee, Councillor Cook will come off the committee and Councillor Little will take a seat with the other seat to Councillor Jackson. Economic Growth, Councillor Brown will remain on the committee with a using the coalition seat. The Audit and Governance Committee, the coalition have relinquished their seat and Councillor Smith will remain on the committee. Constitution Committee, Councillor Little and Brown will remain on the committee in the coalition seats. There is also a vacancy on that committee, which is a coalition seat, if there's to be a nomination. Licensing Committee, Councillor Little will remain in the coalition seat. Councillor Cook will come off the committee. However, that does leave one spare seat, which is open to any member, and I'll seek nominations at the end of this report.
Sorry, may I ask for clarification on what you just said there? You don't mind. You just said that
Yeah, so I understand that Councillor Little will remain in the coalition seat and that Councillor Cook, you'll come off the committee, but there is one spare seat which is open to anyone, so you could be nominated if you wanted to. Yeah. Planning, Councillor Little will remain on the committee in a coalition seat. Appointments panel, Councillor Cook will come off the committee. Councillor Little will take the additional coalition seat. And again, we have one spare seat and that's open to any member. In relation to civic honours, Councillor Jackson is taking the coalition seat on that committee. So that concludes the committees affected, and if I would therefore seek nominations for the spare seat on licensing. Does anyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, if I can, would like to start licensing, please.
Is there any other nominations? No?
Can I also ask another question, if I may, Mr. Mayor, on what Terry's just said, about the economic growth, regeneration, I just call it regeneration, similar. I'd like to believe that there's one seat available on that, and if that is the case, I'd like to put myself forward for that one.
So on economic growth, I've been notified that Councillor Brown will take the seat that the coalition gain. And Hartlepool People Group lose a seat, so they only have one seat on that committee.
So that would be my nomination.
I'd have to check. Is Councillor Jackson not on that committee? Right, sorry. Yeah, so you take that seat.
Okay, thank you.
You could check that, Amanda.
Is that right, Amanda?
I know. I don't think that's right.
Sorry, just clarification. The Hartlepool People Group are not entitled to a seat on that committee. The coalition gain a seat because they did have 3 seats, but they go up to 4 on that committee.
Are we talking about regeneration?
Yeah, economic growth. It's the same.
No, economic growth.
Yeah, so the Hartlepool People Group don't get a seat on that committee. They lose their seat and it goes to the coalition. It does in the The target number of seats available to the Hartlepool People Group on the policy committees, it's 0. I know.
I'm looking at, sorry, Mr Mayor, I do apologise, but I'm looking at the documentation that I've got here, which is page 2, and at the very bottom of it, it says economic growth, 3, 0 and 1.
That was before the review, Councillor Cook.
Right, so on that basis alone, we have lost a seat because of members joining the coalition
Yes.
again.
Yeah.
So that the table with the bold above is the numbers you should be looking at.
Chair, just a question, Chair. Sorry, the papers that were sent out separately have it differently. They have 3, 3 and 1 for Hartlepool People Group.
That's so.
No, it isn't.
This is the target number following the review, which is the bold. In bold, it's 4300. The numbers underneath are the current committee, which was 3, 3 and 1. Does that make sense now?
Clear as mud.
It's any consolation or by abstain conversation.
Yeah.
Councillor Jackson, did you want to come in there?
No, Chair. Councillor Creevy.
Will you put it in, please? Councillor Creevy.
Yeah, can I just ask for a list to be sent out to us all after today, please, to make it clear?
So
thank you.
The other committee that requires a nomination where there is a spare seat is appointments panel. Would anyone like to take that seat? Oh, well, you were coming off, because so you just stay on, if that's what you want to do. We'll let you. Yeah, licence and cook. We will. You've now got a seat. Yeah, on licensing and appointments panel. Thank you. That concludes the report.
Professor Brian Cox is coming later.
Does anyone have any questions on the report?
Chair, actually there's one further change for the Children's Services Committee. I'm coming off the committee as a formal member, and Councillor Little will take my place.
There are no items at 7 or 8, so moving on to agenda item 9 is the report of the Constitution Committee presented by the Monitoring Officer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This report sets out the recommendations of the Constitution Committee from its meeting on the 21st of November. The report contains proposals which are set out at section 3. The recommendations that have been made by the committee for full council to consider are: the first relates to a proposal to formalise the arrangements in relation to the parish council liaison meetings. These meetings are chaired by the leader and used as an opportunity to discuss issues of common interest, and it is proposed that Article 6 of the Constitution be amended to include reference to the meetings and the fact that the leader will chair these meetings under the leader's responsibilities at Article 6. Members are also asked to note that one of the items being discussed at the parish liaison group is the the parish charter deal, which is to be agreed between the parish councils and the council. A working group has been established and further details will be reported to the appropriate committee in the future. The second recommendation relates to a change to the officer employment rules relating to the current position, which is that the chair or vice chair of a relevant committee may be invited to interviews for Band 15 officer posts. The committee's recommended that this paragraph be deleted from the officer employment rules as it's never been utilised. The third proposal considered by the committee relates to planning delegations. This has been something that was put forward by the Planning Committee for consideration by Constitution Committee. At present, the decision to issue an enforcement notice must be made by the Planning Committee. This is also the case for certificate of lawfulness applications, which are applications to establish if a development is lawful or requires planning permission. The recommendation from Planning Committee and from the Constitution Committee is that both of these applications should be decisions delegated to the Director of Neighbourhood and Regulatory Services in consultation with myself and the Chair of Planning. A further proposal was considered by the Constitution Committee regarding a proposal to change the council procedure rules in relation to council motions which have a financial impact. However, the committee have requested that further work be carried out on this, and that will be taken back to a future Constitution Committee before it's brought to full council. Members are asked to consider the proposals and recommendations of the committee. Thank you.
Is there any dissent on the recommendations in the report? There are no items at 10, so moving on to items 11. Is the report of the Finance and Policy Committee presented by Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report reminds members that the HRA is a ring-fenced account and has to fund all expenditure, including loan repayments and repairs from rental income. This means that if we want a sustainable HRA and to increase the number of good quality homes, we need to maintain rental income. As detailed in the F&P report, the government consulted on a proposed rent cap options of 3%, 5% and 7%. In our response to the consultation, we propose the government limit the increase to 3% to mitigate the impact on tenants, but provide a reoccurring grant of 2% to mitigate impacts on the HRA. The government, however, has confirmed that a rent limit of 7% for 23-24, which is lower than the previous regime, which could have resulted in a rent limit of 11.1%. I would love to say that we don't need to increase rents and can simply make the impact of inflation on the HRA disappear. However, this isn't possible or realistic. Therefore, we've looked carefully on the inflationary pressures facing the HRA and the need to ensure its sustainability. On this basis, a 5% increase is recommended, which is below the 7% limit set by the government. Despite the impact on inflation, we will still be investing in the HRA, and existing schemes will provide another 110 properties once they are completed. This is an increase of 36% on completion and will take the HRA to 418 properties, enabling more people to live in good quality, affordable homes. I would therefore move the 5% rent increase, Chair.
Is there any dissent to the recommendations in this report?
There is.
Chair, if that's the case, well, we do need to go to a recorded vote anyway, so because it's the HRA and impacts on our budget.
Oh, yeah. Do we have a seconder for the report?
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Cassidy. Okay, so I'll go to the vote. Councillor Allen. Against. Councillor Boddy. Against. Councillor Brash. Against. Councillor Brown. For. Councillor Buchan. For. Councillor Cassidy. For. Councillor Clayton. Against. Councillor Cook. For. Councillor Cowie.
For.
Councillor Cranny. For. Councillor Creevy. Councillor Falconer. Councillor Feeney. Against. Councillor Fleming. For. Councillor Groves. For. Councillor Hall.
Against.
Councillor Jackson.
Against.
Councillor Leedham.
For.
Councillor Lindridge.
For.
Councillor Loynes.
For.
Councillor Martin Wells. Councillor Moore. Councillor David Nicholson. Councillor Richard. My husband's bloody just bumped up on my phone. Veronica Nicholson. Councillor Sharp. Councillor Smith. Councillor Thompson.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I was torn between whether to go for or against. I'd like to change my vote and go against. Please.
Can't.
I'm sorry, once a vote has been cast, you can't withdraw it.
We have. You've casted your vote, Rob. Sorry.
It's been recorded.
That's 4-16-11. So now go to the next one, 11B.
Item 11 is again a report of the Finance and Policy Committee presented by Councillor Moore.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. This is a really good news story as it provides new toilet facilities for Seaton Carew and retains the beach huts for the Seaside Resort. As detailed in the report, the proposal is to use prudential borrowing to match fund existing funding allocated from the Neighbourhood Investment Programme and Changing Places grant funding. The borrowing will be repaid from a 30p charge for the use of the toilet facilities. The recommendations are detailed in section 4 of the report, and we ask Council to approve the prudential borrowing and to add to the scheme of capital programme.
Is there any dissent to recommendations in this report? Okay. One motion has been received under agenda item 12. Councillor Brush.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try to be uncharacteristically brief as I am not very well. I'd like to start this by just offering some thanks to Glenn Hughes. I know many of you will know he wanted to be here tonight, but he couldn't be. And Glenn's been involved in the Sarah Hospital group for many, many years, and he was incredibly helpful and informative with regard to this motion following a conversation that he and I had, and I really appreciate that. It doesn't matter. It's interesting the Police and Crime Commissioner mentioned the fact that because we're all councillors, we are therefore all from Hartlepool almost by law, and he's absolutely right. That means this means something, and I know sometimes it can be a political football, but it actually shouldn't be. I think there's not a person in this room who has not been touched on one level or another by the hospital services that we have in our town. I've heard the heartbeat of both my kids for the very first time in that building, and it's often been the site of great joy, and again, including in my family, it's also been a site of terrible grief and loss, and I know that'll be the same across the chamber. So I wouldn't question the motives or motivation of a single person in this chamber, regardless of their politics, regardless of their party, regardless of their group. So it is a personal argument for me, but it's not a parochial one, because actually the evidence is on our side. Investment has to happen in the North Tees and Hartlepool Trust. It has to, and the reason it has to is because North Tees is falling down. It's got 5 to 7 years to go in terms of its lifespan. I know the current Member of Parliament has been on record in Parliament saying the exact same thing. It is something that has to happen now. I'm sceptical about the current bid that the Trust has got in, and not because of anything that they've done wrong, but because there actually are some significant challenges around the financing formula that the government uses for those capital projects, and obviously the issue with inflation that we've got at the moment. But it's almost an irrelevance, because whatever happens, to that bid or any future bid, we have to invest in hospital services because one of the 2 hospitals currently in the trust has a lifespan, as I say, of between 5 and 7 years. So it is going to happen. And as I say, it's not a parochial argument. The evidence is on our side, and I pay tribute to Councillor Cook, who's made this point before. We have the land and we have the location. Say our hospital group has done some fantastic work looking at the way that hospital services are balanced across the Tees Valley area. There is greater, and I know this has come up at Audit and Governance recently, there is much greater collaboration north and south of the Tees. It's happening now, and that means you're thinking of hospital provision across the piece. If we get to a situation where the plan to deal with hospital services needing to be invested in is that we have investment, I'm afraid, in Stockton, what you will then be dealing with is a massive centralisation of hospital services in this area. A location in Hartlepool actually balances services incredibly effectively if you look at the other hospitals around the patch. So the argument is on our side. All I would say to members tonight, we have so much that we like to argue about, but this doesn't have to be one of them. We have so many things that we can fall out on, but this doesn't have to be one of them. I don't think the public of Hartlepool want us shouting each other over this, and I'm absolutely happy, in fact, enthusiastic at the idea that we can actually just speak with one very simple voice and say, look, our view, forget party, forget politics, it's very, very simple. We believe the best place to invest in hospital services is our town. And I think we can all agree on that. And indeed, I've spoken to my colleagues on this side, and we would be delighted, genuinely happy, and none of my members will put their hands up to allow it to happen, if members opposite, indeed the most senior Conservative in the room I know is Councillor Cassidy, we offer him the opportunity to second the motion tonight. We absolutely do. And so there can be no doubt that we're trying to score some political point. I want us all to be on the same side. And if he doesn't want to, an independent or anybody else, please, we're happy for you to second the motion. As I say, there's so much we can disagree on. There's so much we will continue to disagree on. Many, 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 many times in the future on a huge number of issues, I've absolutely no doubt. But this doesn't have to be one of them. And I'd like to move the motion and genuinely hope for no dissent tonight. Thank you, Chair.
I'll second that.
If I may, Chair, don't disagree with anything Councillor Brash has just said. And in fact, had we spoken before, I'm sure every single member of the council would have signed the motion. One of the things I would really like to be highlighted in anything that is sent from this council, and I think one of the things we should never lose sight of, is the hospital in its current form and in its previous form when it was fully operational does not just serve the people of Hartlepool, it also serves the people of East Durham, and we must not forget about them either.
Yes. Yep. Councillor Lindbridge.
Could I propose a slight amendment to that, Councillor Brash? I think it's really important what you've said, and you're right, everybody in this gym should be supporting what you've proposed, and I think it's important for the public to know why you've put by signed by the Labour Party. I would like for you to consider the rest of the coalition names under that, so I think it's important to that. All councillors for that matter. Really important.
Councillor Brash.
Chair, I have absolutely no objection to that whatsoever, and I anticipated that any letter that we sent would carry the name of every single person in the room. So, yes, I have no issue with that whatsoever.
Just so you know, the letter will actually go from the Mayor, representing all the members of the Floral Council.
Okay. For items 13, I will hand over the Managing Director, Denise McGuckin.
Thank you, Chair. So, short report this evening, you'll be pleased to hear. I've received a notification from Councillor Cassidy that he wishes to resign as the Council's representative from the following outside bodies, which are Northumbrian Regional Flood and Coastal Committee, Local Government Association, Coastal Special Interest Group and the River Tees Port Health Authority. I have been informed that Councillor Moore has put himself forward on the Northumbrian Regional Flood and Coastal Committee. However, I ask if there are any other nominations from the floor to replace the Council's representative on the other two. If not, we will carry... Oh, sorry, Councillor Creevy.
Sorry, shall I nominate myself for the Coastal Special Interest Group?
Yes, that would be lovely. And we'll keep the River Tees Port Health Authority seat open. I can also advise the Council that in accordance with the requirements of the Access to Information Procedure Rules, included in the Council's Constitution, there were no special urgency decisions taken during the period from August 2022 to October 2022. That concludes my report, Chair.
No public questions have been received on agenda item 14. Are there any questions under agenda item 15 about recent decisions of council committees and forums without notice under Council Procedure Rule 10.1? Councillor Clayton.
Yeah, just one very quick question, and it relates to the recent decisions made by the Finance and Policy Committee relating to the HRA account. I just wondered whether the figure that was in the earlier report this evening of 110 new properties, whether that accounted for the changes that were decided on by F&P recently or not.
Yes, Chair.
No questions under 15B.
There are no questions under item 15.
Conclude the meeting.
That concludes tonight's meeting. Oh, before you all go, I would like to take this opportunity to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I would like to invite you back to the parlour for Christmas cake and a few kind words. Goodwill to all mankind. Okay.
Stand.